Hi all friends! How often do we think, I wish I had such abilities while watching a movie about yet another superhero? Yet we forget that creators of any, even the most fantastic works, draw inspiration from real life. Which means that people with similar powers exist among us. It's unlikely though that you will envy them. Now you're gonna figure out why. Let's go! Vampire people. Did you know that according to official statistics, 1 in 17,000 people in the world is a vampire? At least, you'd agree that visually, the image popular in cinema and literature is literally copied from these people. However, they have a much harder time than fictional characters. First, those suffering from so-called hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia are afraid of the sun as well, or rather, of its heat. The thing is, with this anomaly, sweat glands practically do not function. It means that even a little heat instantly leads to dangerous overheating of the body. These two brothers from India are forced to pour water on themselves every half an hour. Almost all people with this syndrome look the same. Thin hair on their head and body, small pointed teeth, altered shape of ears and nose. It's fortunate that actor Michael Berryman proves by example that such an anomaly can easily be turned into a superpower. Michael has starred in many movies and TV series, including The Hills Have Eyes, Star Trek, and The X-Files. Isn't he cool? The Hercules gene. Those of you fond of fitness probably thought once, well, what prevents muscles from growing at least twice as fast and being a little more voluminous? Come on! There is a very specific reason why we have to struggle for months in the gym so that our biceps could grow by 1 centimeter. That reason is a protein called myostatin. But don't blame it. Without the mechanism that blocks the development of excessive muscle mass, we would have grown muscles like the Hulk, which is fraught with bone and heart diseases. You've probably seen animals devoid of this protein, huge cows and pigs with powerful dry muscles shimmering under their skin. But what happens if the level of myostatin is significantly lower than normal in the human body? Well, that's how giants like Eddie Hall come into the world. Just take a look at him. He is literally a true mutant. Myostatin production disorder is caused by a mutation of a certain gene. As a result, the winner of the World's Strongest Man 2017 competition has a muscle mass that is a couple of times higher than normal, and he can pull a barbell weighing half a ton from the floor. Fat-free body. By the way, most athletes know that it's almost impossible to gain a couple of kilograms of muscle without a small layer of fat. And while they have to consume very little sweets and get their six-packs back with intensive cardio training, people with lipodystrophy do not care at all. They can lie on the couch for days, eat fast food, cakes, and drink sweet soda. They won't gain fat even in the slightest. In fact, lipodystrophy, although being unusual, is still a disease. Because of it, the body sometimes cannot maintain the necessary level of adipose tissue. It happened with the hero of these shots. She lost weight from 65 to 50 kilograms so quickly that doctors had to give her drips with nutrient solution. Obviously, the syndrome has a negative effect on the internal organs, especially the liver and heart. Turns out that a couple of belly fat rolls are not such a problem, are they? Remember everything. Try to recall what you had for breakfast exactly 4 years ago. Well, the hyperthymesia test has failed. At the same time, there are about 50 people in the world who can easily answer such questions. They remember every day of their lives down to the smallest detail, right down to what clothes they were wearing when they went to work, for example, on July 10th, 2011. An exceptional autobiographical memory was first discovered in a woman named Jill Price in the early 2000s, and researchers have been puzzling over the phenomenon ever since. The youngest patient with hyperthymesia, Jack Hausler, compares his head to the iPhone calendar. However, according to the guy, that's not that cool. His brain stores all his most unpleasant moments and failures in HD. Supervision. Shooting laser beams out of your eyes like a cyclops would be great, but how about seeing the world in more color? If anyone hadn't known, our abilities in this regard are quite limited. The average person perceives only about 1 million shades. But the research carried out by neuroscientists from the University of Newcastle has proved that there are unique people in the world with superhuman vision who are able to see 10 times more colors. Thanks to this unique mutation, it's quite possible to fit into the ranks of the X-Men, who can distinguish up to 10 million colors. The artist Conchetta Antico can distinguish even more, about 100 million. It's impossible even to imagine how colorful her reality is. The woman tries to express her feelings in pictures. Unfortunately, only super people like her can truly appreciate them. 4-hour sleep.
These superhumans sleep just 4 to 6 hours and wake up fully rested, fully recharged.
Do you barely lift your head off the pillow in the morning, take another hour to come to your senses, and then you don't have time to do anything? Then it's time to mutate. It's one of the best science news in recent years. Scientists from the University of California studied the genes of a family whose members sleep only 4.5 hours a day and do not feel tired. Then the researchers artificially induced the same changes in rats, and they began to sleep 55 minutes less on average. The best thing is that according to scientists, such a mutation does not cause any negative side effects. You just need less time to rest. And most importantly, there is a reason to believe that that's a new characteristic that will sooner or later develop in all people. Roll on. Complete insensibility. There is an extremely small percentage of people on Earth who are born with insensibility to pain. With hereditary sensory and autonomic neuropathy type 4, a hot kitchen stove or boiling water feels slightly warm to a person, and a piece of ice in the hand causes only a subtle feeling of coldness. Yet once again, it's the genetic mutation's fault. It simply prevents nerve cells responsible for transmitting pain, heat, and cold signals to the brain from forming. And if for Deadpool this ability is a trump card, then in everyday life it causes a lot of problems. People with congenital insensibility often get injuries and even fractures. American Ashlyn Blocker knows it like no one else. She has a whole set of creepy stories from her childhood. For example, when she was 2 years old, she grabbed a hot silencer and would run with a broken ankle for a couple of days in a row. Now, of course, the woman gets injured less often, but she still has to be extremely careful. Exceptional flexibility.
They diagnosed me with Marfan syndrome.
Each person has a gene responsible for the production of fibrillin, a protein that gives connective tissue strength and elasticity.
Are your joints particularly flexible?
Yes, very flexible.
However, in about 1 out of 5,000 cases, the well-established mechanism fails, the gene stops working. Thus, people with that strange disorder are born. First of all, such people are distinguished by their incredible flexibility. Can any of you bend your fingers or knees in the same way as this woman? But in addition to joint hypermobility, Marfan syndrome is often accompanied by heart problems. Apparently, realizing such an oversight, nature decided to compensate for it. People with this syndrome often have an IQ significantly higher than average. Paradoxical geniuses. Superheroes with the single ability exist not only in comics, but also in real life.
I am Loki.
We're talking about the people you're seeing on screen now. Along with mental development disorder, they also have phenomenal skills in a particular field. That is called savant syndrome, and it's very rare. About 1 person in a million has it. Sometimes it occurs after a head injury, but most often it develops in people with autism. For example, Derek. The guy is also completely blind, but he performs the most complex sonatas, even on 2 pianos at the same time. Phenomenal endurance. People with super endurance also exist. Primary familial and congenital polycythemia is responsible for that ability. Polycythemia describes any increase in the number of red blood cells, erythrocytes. As you know, erythrocytes carry oxygen, which means that endurance exercises are easier for a person with such disorder. Much easier. For example, the Finnish cross-country skier Eero Mantrajanta, who had polycythemia, won 7 medals at 4 Winter Olympics. Yet this time you should not be jealous. This disease also causes various complications, including heart attacks and thrombosis. It seems that you can only get a side effects-free superpower in the comics. Hold on a second. Do you want to see some crazy stories from real life? Nothing dull, only action. Only adventures, chases and fights, love confessions and sudden betrayals. Don't believe us? Follow the link and see for yourselves. Our animation channel Private Diary reveals the deepest secrets. Don't forget to subscribe.